This gas is cheaper than Blackduck.
20 cents a gallon cheaper.
Yeah, for a while, it's 50.
Yeah, stuff. So I wouldn't know. Once a week.
All right, 6 o'clock, I call meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Tina has the roll.
I do.
Very good. Let's see here. Should we add this first?
Yeah, so next I have one item that's in front of the council that should be included in the consent agenda as item BD. Sorry, I'm a lot of numbers on there, guys. And then I received word just shortly before the meeting that a representative from the chamber could not present item 9A for a conflict. So I want to remove that from my administrator's report for this evening. So if I just get a
Motion and a
motion
second
with the
for that.
changes, then that would be great.
So we need a motion to add item, I will make the motion to add item BB. And remove item 9, you said?
9A.
A.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion passes. We now need to approve the agenda,
The consent agenda.
consent agenda, excuse me. All items on the consent agenda will be passed with one motion unless there is something someone would like to remove to discuss.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
A motion to approve the consent. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
You? Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, hearing none passes. No one for Blackduck Forum? See no one. We'll move directly to item number 5. Officer Walton.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Well, good.
A little bit about me, I'm Jarrett Walton, the Chief Deputy of the Sheriff's Office. I oversee all the divisions of the Sheriff's Office. One of my oversees the jail. As we know, our jail is aging. We run out of room in the jail as well. So what we've done is we did a study with Justice Jail Planners. Their job is to kind of see what our needs are as far as the jail facility goes, and also the criminal justice system. Our goal is hopefully to streamline some stuff, and maybe even eliminate some of our need for bed space. They did quite an extensive study, and they also just go your step at the top there.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kind of introducing it here. So what we did is we put together a PowerPoint. We want to get out to the public and kind of introduce what their findings were, what our options are, and kind of the bottom line, what it would cost and how we finance it. It's kind of an overview for that. We're looking for public input. It's very important that people that have a stake in this come up and tell us what they want, what they think we need. I mean, it's very important that it's going to cost community money either way that we do, any way that we deal with this. And number two, that we want to do it to the best, so it supports our community and it helps us hopefully reduce recidivism as well. I have people coming into our jail. And a little bit of introduction of the project, kind of the history and the direction of the Beltrami County Jail. One of the first things I'm going to talk about is kind of the direction of the jail. We're going to go a little bit backwards here. The last 3.5 years, we've been kind of trying to do what's called a restorative correction site philosophy, which means that we do need to hold people accountable and put them in our jail. But when we have, there might be a touch point so we can help them out to address some of the underlying issues and why they're in our jail. A lot of times people are in our jail because of chemical dependency issues, maybe mental health issues or some other underlying issues. But to try to get at those root causes. So number one, when we get them there, we can try to provide some services when they're in there. And we also have a reset corner whose job is to give them resources on the outside of the jail. With the resources on the inside, it's called programming or services is what it's referred to. It takes space to do that. Right now, we have 2 rooms that are probably maybe the size from that wall to there in the jail, and we currently have 118, about space for 118 inmates. And we'll get into a little bit more about how many inmates we're actually responsible for. So that's one of the things we're kind of working for, is trying to help them when they're in there. We've also just recently, we're working with Stanford. We're going to actually offer a full-time mental health counselor, 2 chemical dependency counselors, a peer support counselor, and also another social worker in our jail. Our goal behind that is to touch them when they're in there, hopefully get the services they need so they don't have to come back in their jail. With that said, there's a lot of collateral damage that comes with, chemical abuse and mental health as far as within the community, within the family structure. We're hoping to have a little bit of, kind of collateral effect as well and help out not only bring people into our jail, but making our community safer and healthier. But that all takes space. Little bit about our jail. Our jail is 33 years old. It was designed in 1985. And at the time, it was a state-of-the-art jail. I mean, it was what they were doing, and it was the best of the best at the time. We had a capacity of 81 inmates. It's run on 2 different floors with 2 different control rooms and kind of a podular block design. At the time, it was very efficient, but right now with the DOC, I'm going to refer to Minnesota DOC. They're the Minnesota Department of Corrections. They're the ones that regulate how and what we do. So they say that you need so many inmates or so many staff or jail correction staff per inmate. And with the design we have, it's not very efficient, so we can only watch X amount of inmates. If with newer jails and newer designs with different sight lines, you're allowed to watch a lot more inmates with one corrections officer, with less corrections officers, which saves money on staffing. 10 years after we opened our jail, we outgrew the building and its design. We needed more capacity. And Minnesota Department of Corrections eventually relaxed the rules and allowed us to double bunk, which means for every cell, instead of having 1 month, we could have 2 bunks. They've since taken that away from us again, but they did give it to us at one time to expand space. Overcrowding in our jail was a problem right after we built the jail. Within 10 years, we were overcrowded, didn't have space. So in 2004, we added a 60-bed minimum security in our basement. That's more of a dormitory style. It's like an open room with a bunch of bunks, a bunch of tables in there, so that we'd have more space for inmates. In 2014, there's only 2 types of populations in our jail: general and a max population. And that'll come into effect a little bit later on when we talk about how the DOC did classification standards, but it doesn't allow us to intermingle certain inmates, which causes us problems because you have to put certain inmates in with certain areas. It's harder to do when you run out of space quicker. So we also saw in 2004 we had started having a large female inmate population. Which is kind of an oddity. What is it? It's like 20-some%. I can't remember, but I think that the industry standard is like 16% females in the jail. I think we have like 24% in our jail. We have a large female population. Again, which causes issues because you have to put the females and the male separate from each other and find a spot for them all to go. In 2014, the sheriff's office began to remodel some space to meet DOC requirements. It was supposed to include a centralized booking area. While the project was underway at the 11th hour, the Minnesota DOC changed the standards and said we couldn't do it. We spent about $1 million on redoing a kitchen and redoing some offices, but we need more holding tanks for people to go into. That's people that when they first come in or if they're in a mental health crisis, they need to be isolated. We only have 6 of them in our facility right now. We should have probably about 25 of them. Oh my gosh. So you got to do with what you have. So we've kind of been looking into ways to deal with that. But so we remodeled our kitchen and we got stopped by the DOC. And then in 2015, so we weren't able to add any more cells or holding cells. In 2015, the Minnesota DOC added 4 additional booking classifications, which essentially that means is you have a maximum, a minimum, medium, and the general population. So what that means is now we have 4 classifications to deal with so that we can't intermingle certain other classifications. So it causes more issues to find spaces for people and to make sure we follow the rules and put like-minded people in with each other. So that's kind of, where we're at in 2015 and where we're kind of in the area where we're at. We did a study with the Justice Jail Fund. There was an independent consultant based out of, I can't remember, he's out of Alabama. what they did is they studied, they spoke to all the stakeholders in our community, from law enforcement to the judges, to probation, anybody that touches the jail, they talk with those individuals. And one of the things that they came up with is that the jail steering committee, one of their goals was to reduce recidivism by addressing the underlying issues, kind of what we've been dealing with for the last 3.5 years, trying to get services for them while they're in there, and then hopefully get somebody to get out on the outside. It's a priority for us in what we're doing, or what we as a community want for our jail to be able to do. So about a year ago, we implemented, I talked about a little bit ago, we implemented a jail reset coordinator, which is essentially a social worker in our jail. Her job, like I said, is to get resources when they leave on the outside, because if they don't have those resources, they fall in using drugs, fall in with the same people, then they have to make crimes, and then it's back in their jail. We're hoping that to make sure that we do everything we can to make so they don't come back. Some of the other pictures here, if you scroll down, there's a picture. That's their jail control room floor right there. It's coming apart. The floor, it's worn down to the actually the cement in there. Our jail, it's 33 years old, but they say that it's a 24-hour use facility. It's equal to being a 128-year-old building. So it's got a lot of wear and tear. And I got to give Steve Shadrock, our maintenance guy, he does a pretty good job keeping it the way he does. So it's so functioning that he does a really good job. Then the Minnesota DOC in 2019 told us that we needed to do something to address our jail needs. They said enough is enough. They said that if you or your county board don't take the action to try to look at a plan to improve or deal with your deficiencies in your old building, the poor design, everything like that, they were going to call what's called the sunset. What a sunset means is they're going to essentially say you're going to be closed in 2 years. That's what happened to it. I think Itasca County got sunsetted, so they didn't have a choice in the matter. They said either your jail's going to shut down and you have to send your inmates everywhere else, or you can build a new one, but you have to do it within a certain amount of time. So that's why they're building the jail right now. I don't know if anyone's been downtown in Grand Rapids.
Yes,
They
yes,
have a great big,
huge
Yeah.
facility, yes.
I think they're doing the court, some other stuff.
They are, yeah, between their city hall, their old city hall.
Yeah,
And
that was
the county seat.
Yeah,
That's a massive project.
Yeah, it is.
it is. Well, one of the things that we had a problem in 2019, we started this process, and then COVID. And unfortunately with COVID, it stopped everything in its tracks. I mean,
Including the deadline?
well, yeah, they let us push it back. We continued to work at it. I mean, so they didn't give us a deadline or sunset date. They said you need to progressively work at it, and we've been very active in doing that. Another problem that we had was K-Mac retires too, so then, she was part of the process, and then so we had to onboard Tom Berry, our new county administrator. We're very fortunate that he's got quite a bit of experience in doing capital projects, so he's been a huge asset in the process. So constraints and capacity due to design and operational limits and the age. Right now, we don't have control or a centralized booking, which means that no one can get into there, and they're the ones that control all the doors within the facility, besides which doors open, which doors close. So if you have a centralized booking, you can't hijack it, but or take it over, so which can compromise the security of the facility. Right now, we have an upstairs control room, a downstairs control room, and then we have in our basement level, we also have someone that runs a management station down there. So we have 3 different control rooms. The DOC kind of frowns on that. They said you should have centralized control, but unfortunately, we have to do with what we have. So that picture didn't turn out very good there. What that is, that's a nursing station plus a DWI processing room. That's where we do all that. It's a little room, probably what from here to that half wall there. That's about the same length as that. So it's one of those things that you gotta do with what you have, and a lot of times you have to do more with less. So that means multi-purposing rooms like that as well. So the next one there is actually our booking room. And the funny thing about this is,
Sorry.
is that the Department of Corrections actually laughed at us, and so did the Justice Jail Planner, saying that this is our booking room. Our booking room should probably be about 3 or 4 times that big, if not more. It should also have holding cells off the side of it. And currently we have no holding cells anywhere near there. The inmate sits in the blue chair, and our booking officer sits there, which creates security risk as well. And I'm glad that Alan and Ed got a good laugh at our booking room, but they can't believe that we use that to book people. It used to be, I think, another nursing station or something we made into a booking room. Again, we're trying to do more with what we have. The next slide down kind of shows in our blocks, what do we say, that with that many people in an area, it's probably maybe as big as that wall down there, that's where all the inmates have to come out and hang out in the day room. There's a little TV up on the wall there. You can see while they're trying to come out there and eat, how crammed they are in there. One of the things you'll know in a jail, if you can't keep them busy and you crowd them, you have problems. We have the most assaults per capita in our correctional facility. And they fight with each other as well. It's one of those things that, an idle mind or an idle hand, or if it's too crowded together, there seems to be some problems as well. I was talking about our programming rooms, and this is our biggest programming room right here. It's also a multi-purpose. One of them is used for vending and some other stuff as well, but we have to do all of our programming. One of the things about programming is we want to try to make it, either faith-based, some culturally based, or just conventional type of programming. We want to be able to offer it all. With that, you need some space. And one of the things about programming rooms is they can be multi-purpose. One time they can be used for the religious-based ones, the next time can be used for the culture-based ones, but it's got to be designed right so they can use multi-purpose. One of the things you notice about all these jail photos, you don't see much natural light there, do you? There's one room that's the rec room that they have natural light. Otherwise, they have little ones in their cell. One of the things the DOC says too, that natural light has a good effect on inmates as well. They actually get to see the sunlight and see the outside, kind of makes it so they're not so apt to cause problems for our staff. Kind of an introduction to the project of where we're at right now. Right now, we're currently responsible for 142 inmates, probably on an average daily basis. Our facility holds 118. If you do the math there, we're 24 over right there. We also need to have flex capacity. We also, which means that allows us to arrest people and bring people in. I think we average about 9 arrests per day. And then also you have to have it so that for classification rules, or if there's mental health people in there, to try to make it so they don't intermingle. So you're hardly ever able to run at 118 people because of those requirements. So currently we've been housing, we're kind of down because we had a COVID outbreak and we've been taking people for a while, but we were housing 42 inmates out a day on average. It's $55 to $110 a day to house those out of county. We're projected to spend over $800,000 of money housing people out of county, which is a huge expense. And not to mention, we also have a lot of transport costs to go with it as well. So, and we have them in time.
Is that for the next year?
Yeah, that's $800,000 a year we're spending on out of county. One of the things that too is we have to transport. We have them in Todd County. We have them. Well, Crow Wing's not taking them right now because they have staffing issues. We take them to Morrison County, Lefebvre, or Pennington County. We have them all over because they can only take a certain amount of inmates. So then logistically, when they have court hearings, if you can't do it on TV, you got to bring them back. So our transport cars are running all the time back and forth. There's quite an expense with that as well.
Wow.
The Beltrami County Commissioners created several committees to identify and examine the issues. They have a steering committee whose job is to oversee and coordinate the work of the 3 committees, working with the consultant, making final recommendations to the board. Makeup of the Commissioner Anderson and Sumner, 2 citizens appointed, Joe Vinnie and John Henningsgaard. I don't want to mess his name up. The sheriff, the county administrator, the jail administrator. I am on the committee as well. The DOC regional director, the DOC tribal liaison, the Red Lake Nations chair, and the Leech Lake tribal chair, and Bemidji Mayor George Prince. We're all on the steering committee. We meet probably once every 2 weeks. We meet for several hours, probably 2 to 3 hours every day discussing, or every time we meet discussing stuff. Just hoping to come up with a good plan. We're taking a very calculated look at this, and we're trying to make it so that when the commissioners make their decision, we've looked at every option. So we're not trying to say that we're pushing one option or another option. We just want to give them all the information in a very organized manner, and hopefully they can come up with a good decision, because ultimately their decision on what we do. So we also came up with a programming committee, which is to analyze what a program is, our services again we offer in the jail. They analyze program needs and gaps, recommend programming objectives and improvements. On that committee are Commissioner Reed Olson, jail program staff, Anthony Derby, and Eddie Busta. There is also a social services. I don't know who's represented from the social services. I think Jen Nelson from the public defender's office. The county attorney's office has a representative, the DOC director and cultural liaison, and 3 citizens on that community. Another one we have is the finance committee. They're actually doing a presentation today at the county board meeting about some of the finance options, which we'll cover here briefly as well. Their job is to do financial research, modeling and options, and implementation of finance in the project. On that committee are Commissioner Craig Gosvick, me, the county auditor, the county finance director, and the county administrator, and two private financial professionals. There's also, we hired it's called a project consultant. That was construction engineers. Their job is to kind of make sure that we all stay in line and keep a common goal and keep moving forward with what we're doing. They're also kind of a liaison to all the different, between all the committees as well, because they're at all those meetings as well. So, and then next is, right, we discussed a little bit, we did a needs assessment feasibility study with justice planners. They took historical data, crime and court statistics, current needs, deficiencies versus future needs. They studied the impact of each scenario and presented them to the board.
I gotta say, that was the part of the county meeting that I got to see. I couldn't then stay for the rest, and I was fascinated as we encounter those numbers. Staggering. Sorry. I hope you can like put it in a nutshell and talk about it, because it was a lot.
I call myself a nerd, because I love numbers and I love technology. I've said it a couple different times in public videos, so I like numbers. Like you said, it's kind of astronomical what the costs are. And trying to come up with a way to finance this and to make it feasible for the taxpayers is our main goal on the finance committee. So on August 24th, justice planners did a presentation to the board. And what the goal is here is on September 22nd, there's going to be a public input listening period, which will be done at the county boardroom. They'll make, the goal is to have citizens get their input to the county commission so they can make an informed decision on what they want. So, and hopefully a month or so after that, the county commissioners will come up with their decision whether or not this is kind of a point in the project. We have a timeline set up where this is a go, no go, which essentially means, are we going to move forward or are we just going to stay with what we have and no longer move forward with the project? So it's a decision that the county commissioners are going to have to make. So. One of the things that right now we're kind of on a time crunch for things because one of the options that we use to help finance this cost is a local option sales tax, which we will refer to last from here on within the presentation. But with that, you need to get it in front of the legislature in January so they can put it on the referendum or have it on a ballot in November the following.
We're all very familiar with that.
Oh, yeah, we're pretty familiar.
Get held up in there.
Yeah.
So did Itasca County, so they did Carlton County. So
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, so you're skip to that.
Well, we make it easier.
So what we've been doing here is we're in the 30 days of public input and town hall meetings. We write for the public hearing. Our goal with that again is to inform people on kind of an overview of what we're doing. All of our information we have is currently developed on the website as well. We'll refer to that here later in the presentation as well. But so one of the importance of getting to the board to vote on this in a timely manner and the consequences they don't is a lack of action can be taken by it can be seen by the DOC as us just kind of stalling the whole process. Maybe they can force their hand to some. So we want to continue to actively work on this, and we meet all the time and we work almost daily on this project. So I think we could justify to them that we are working hard on it. The next slide here is we also have just our jail project portal, which it's got all the data. It's got minutes of all of our meetings, tells them everyone who's on all these committees. It also has the Justice Jail Planners 88-page study on there as well. It also has their PowerPoint that they presented to us, kind of outlining the facts of what we're talking about here tonight. So we also have a survey. So anyone in the public that's interested in having some input into this, there's a survey to take, and there's also a general comments portal where you can log into or go to the county website and put in your comments. So we want to hear what everybody has to say. This is a project that's going to affect all of our communities for many, many years. So it's important that everyone that has an opinion lets us know what they want, what they expect.
Jared, do you guys have this on the county social media right now?
Not right now. We don't have we try kind of want a one-stop shop for it. So we're trying to point everybody to this portal.
But do you have a point on your social media to the portal?
I would have to check. I don't think we do right now. So
If you end up doing that, let us know and we can share it
Oh.
to ours because the Blackduck one gets greater likes
Yep.
found.
makes sense. Yeah, we'd gladly do that. And now we're gonna, Ernie said I could get this done in 20 or 30 minutes, but it's 38 slides, 39
Have you
slides.
done it yet?
I'm trying to talk fast here. There's 7 scenarios that we studied. We wanted them to study all the different possibilities and come up with projected costs and big costs as well. The first option, which is called the status quo option. Justice planners did a study and it's based off of how many we house out of county, the transportation costs, staffing needs. Those are all factors into how they come up with these costs. They come up with a, through this whole project, for consistency, they did a 30-year cost for all the different options. And also the way that it could possibly be funded, part of the thing was it could be funded by different sources and how much they can come out of the property tax levy, or if we can use a local, a loss or a local sales tax, how much of that will pay for. And you guys probably know as well, because you studied that, that about, they say approximately 40% of that revenue is from people who don't live in Beltrami County. So it'd be a benefit, but also only 65% of our jail population are residents of Beltrami County. So we house for people that don't live in an area that come to commit crime. So, you kind of nice up them to pay for a facility that they're staying in. So, so one of the things about the status quo is there's no, one of the good things is there's no capital construction cost. One of the bad things is right now, because of our space issues and a lot of safety issues, the safety concerns will not be addressed. We have increased liability. Unfortunately, with the sightlines within our jail and how staff intensive it is, there's a lot of liabilities built. And so we're going to stick with the same liabilities we have now. There'll be a growing transportation cost because we're not, as our inmates, because they project us as time goes to have more of a need because there's more inmates. So currently we're at 142, they say that in, I think it's 2035 will be at. Yeah, that's what our need will be. Yeah. Yeah, so that's, it's quite a growth. So with that, so we're only 118, so with the status quo, we have to ship them out. And the hard part is even finding places to send them. Sometimes we'd like to send more inmates, but we don't have jails to take them. So.
Did that not include the percentage of open beds that were needed?
Yeah, that was 239 is what we did.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, if we included what we don't need for beds, it was 239. So, so that's one of the things that we keep, we'll keep doing what we're doing, and also the thing about that is that the cost of inmate housing will continue to increase every year. It's went from $55 now to $60 a bed coming up here. The UFC sets the rate for it, and every year it expands. And again, with the cost of living going up by 9.4% or whatever it was, I'm sure there'll be an increase in the county housing next year as well. And another bad thing is the greater amount of our local tax dollars will be spent out of county. So we won't be keeping the money locally. It'll be going out to the counties that we're housing inmates at. The current facility will become more expensive to maintain. One of the things that, as things age, we all know that it costs more to fix them. I mean, we had to redo the roof on the jail here a couple of years ago, and the heating systems, the water systems, all that stuff takes money to keep it going. So, and currently in our current jail, we have a lack of training space and programming space. That would not be addressed either. We wouldn't have anywhere to train our staff, nor would we have places to provide services to hopefully keep people out of our jail. And if with all the inmates housed out of jail, I told you we're kind of going towards the restorative corrections. Their goal is to help them when they're in our jail. If they're housed out of their counties, we're at the mercy of what those counties are going to offer. And I told you that we're going to be adding those 5 mental health professionals. That's unprecedented anywhere in the state of Minnesota to have that much in a jail. And now we're losing that because we're not able to touch those people when we have them because they're in Todd County, they're in Morrison County, they're all over the countryside. So one of the things, one of the bad things about keeping the status quo. Again, more inmates would be housed away from their family and the local communities. I think the farthest we go is in Todd County is almost 2 hours away. So they're 2 hours away from their family as well. So, and the distance for transports are increasing. So if we have more inmates, we might have to go to St. Cloud. We might have to go to Wright County, which is 3-4 hours. We got to find beds to housing people. And a lot of jails are in the same conditions or same shape that we're in. They don't have space either, so they're farming their people out. So kind of a revolving door as well. We've actually spoken to a couple of our local counties that are willing to even contract to be built a jail for. One of them wants 40 beds, another one wants 20 beds. Yeah, so it's one of those things that everyone's looking for space.
Wow.
Option 2 we have here is operating a 36-hour facility. Essentially what that means is they get arrested, they come to our jail. If they don't make bail, they go in front of the judge and the judge says, we're not gonna let you go. They get farmed out. So you only keep a limited amount of inmates for a short period of time in our facility, and then you ship them out. The estimated cost for the 30-year cost for that is $504 million. There'd be some construction needed as well to remodel our booking area, redo some things so that we can become a 36-hour facility, which would be included in the 30-year cost, but it's funded only by a property tax levy. With that 2.1 million, we would seek a local sales tax pay for that, could be paid for in a half a year if we did a half cent, whatever it might be. So our current facility will continue to be more expensive to maintain because it's an older facility. No ability to control the amount or type of services offered to our inmate population because they'll only be here for a short period of time and then they'll be going elsewhere. More inmates would be housed away from their families and local community. One of the benefits would be fewer detention officers would be needed because they have less inmates, so you have a less need for staff. So, but the bad part is there's increased safety and liability because of increased transportation. Anytime it's 40 below, it's snowing outside, and you got buses going everywhere, you have a lot of liability goes with that as well. So our transport people put on like 70,000 miles a year as is. I can't imagine what it would be if we had to ship out more inmates. So remodeling and expand, we have to remodel and expand the booking center in Sally Ports in order to be a 36-hour facility. That was a $2.1 million cost. Capital construction costs are minimal for none of the expanding or replacing the jail. Housing out inmates will continue to increase. Again, as our population projections go up, we'll have more need to ship people out. The growing transportation costs to their other would also require us to put on almost a whole transportation division. Because if you're shipping out this many inmates, you're going to have a fleet of vehicles and a fleet of people to operate them to get them where they need to be. So greater local tax dollars will be spent out of county. No ability to control the amount of types of services offered to the inmate population. Also, again, more inmates to be housed farther away from their family and local community, increased safety and liability. Our current facility, oh, I've already read this one.
Yeah, it's like a duplicate, I think.
This is already PowerPoint, so I blame him.
Okay, he's not here anyway. We're on option 3 then.
The option 3 is an estimated 30-year cost of $536 million. $2.3 million would be included in to the levy cost and property tax levy. Many core systems, space renovation and upgrades will be needed. We will actually lose beds by doing this because we're gonna have to upgrade some stuff to address some of our other needs. We'll have costly construction costs in order to do this. Daily housing out of county will continue to rise and increase. Growing transportation costs and other liabilities to the jail. Greater local tax dollars being spent out of county. And no ability to control programming services provided to the inmates while we are responsible for them. Again, more inmates will be housed farther away from their family and out of the local community. But the benefit would be fewer detention officers. With liability risks rising from transportation, it would decrease, but would decrease detention staff. Option 4 is expanding the existing facility. Essentially what that means is we'd add on to it. So the estimated 30-year cost for that is $439 million. So it includes the capital construction of $29.5 million. An estimated $62.5 million could be funded from a loss or local sales tax. The rest will be funded through the property tax levy of $377 million. Many of the core systems and it would add many of the core systems we're looking for and add additional bed space. Could potentially require building a second building in the parking lot connected by a tunnel.
I was just gonna ask that, where are they going to expand?
The justice planner said in our law enforcement parking lot, so we lose a parking lot if we don't have very much space to start with. It could be built in phases. Capital costs will be expensive tying into current infrastructure. We'll need to increase the detention staff because it would be considered a second jail. We'd actually have to hire another jail administrator. The DOT rules say that you have 2 different buildings, you need 2 different jail administrators. So,
Even if they're tied together.
Yep.
Wow.
But it could be tied together by a tunnel. I mean, you wouldn't build them right, to connect together.
physically at each location. I see.
We'll need to increase detention staff. Because like that's considered a second jail. It will add additional bed space, will reduce out of county housing of inmates, lower transportation costs and liability. Safety concerns for staff and inmates will be addressed. The needed space for training and inmate services would be addressed. More local tax dollars would stay local. We will be able to house inmates for other counties possibly, depending on our space needs. Control amount of type of services offered to the inmate population and kind of control what the services or the program we're trying to make so that don't come back to our jail. Inmates would be near to their families and local communities. One of the bad things about that is the building across the street, it's still 33 years old and still being subsidized by the Citizen Department of Corrections.
Okay, because that was my
Yep.
next question was, since it's two separate jails, you haven't
Solve
solved
the
the
first
problem.
problem.
No, but it was an option we explored.
But I understand, okay, we're getting there.
The next option would be to build a new facility, which means build a whole brand new jail. The estimated 30-year cost for that would be about $500 million. The capital construction cost would be $74.5 million, which is included in the local sales tax, which would pay for about $125 million in the project. So and the rest, the $375 million would come out of the property tax levy. But if you look at $125 million of that, say that you have 40%, that's $50 million would be coming from people that aren't helping. So it would come from people that are shopping here, tourists, or people that come to Walmart to buy their groceries from out of town. So design and operations would be tailored to the operational philosophy that we're looking for, address specific health concerns and culture needs of the inmate population. We kind of got to control this thing, and we're going to do what's now considered state of the art. So 30 years from now, someone can be standing here giving you the same spiel about how it was.
No, not me.
We won't be here.
Come on now.
Leave your legacy.
The bed space for 30-year protection would mean lower transportation costs. Again, it would address the safety concerns for staff and the inmates. Needed space for training and inmate services and programming would be there as well. Okay, more local tax law, or more of our tax dollars would stay local. And we would probably be able to house some inmates for other counties, which is a revenue source for us. You know, we're paying out $800,000 a year now. If we house 60 inmates for other ones, it'd be about $1 million in revenue. But there'd probably increase for staffing needs and what goes along with it. But it'd probably,
Not to the extent of the other way.
Yep. So, a new jail facility may not be built adjacent to the courthouse. There hasn't been any discussions on if it would be, if it'd be north of the current jail, would it be a greenfield? That hasn't been looked at or explored either. So that's one of the things that would probably be done by someone, and the commission would have to make an informed decision on that. So there's benefits and costs each. If we have a green space, we have a lot of transportation and logistical issues, getting people to and from court, get them where they need to be as well. That's
the water.
Do you have build a regional facility and build a new facility? What's the difference in the two, just roughly?
The regional facility would be where you more likely partner with other counties, and you have like a board that oversees those. Tri-County right now, which is Norman, Polk, and Red Lake County are with that one. It's just Tri-County. They have a board that oversees that. So we wouldn't have control, single control over it. It would be kind of
Like the airport.
Yep. So.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
The estimated 30-year cost for a regional facility, since we're diving into that, is $532 million. It would be a $93.2 million to build the facility. Estimated over $150 million could be paid for under sales tax if we're able to pass that through a referendum. One of the things that we could vacate our current jail on a new site would be unknown, or we could demolish the current jail and rebuild right in that spot. The logistical issues with that, it takes quite a while to do it. Where do you put all your inmates when you do that? Okay. But those are off.
Zoning restrictions and the ministry for that too.
There might be, and that's why we wanted to be the city really involved in our project. So we're informed on what we can and can't do. So understood.
Don't go ahead.
Okay, capital and operating costs are shared or offset by other jurisdictions. Depending upon organizational structure, a guaranteed revenue could be generated. Design and operations would be tailored to the operational philosophies we have, again, addressing specific health concerns, cultural needs for the inmate population, and opportunity to provide programming to help our inmates and our citizens out. Again, it also addresses safety needs or concerns for our inmate and staff. The needed space for training and inmate programming and services would be available. No current interest from other entities. We haven't approached like Cass County. They have a 36-hour facility and they house in right now in Crow Wing County. But it's one of the things we haven't approached any other counties. It would probably delay the project as well because they would have to do kind of their own justice jail study. So they know that we'll have a need for 150 inmates in this set. And we kind of get a projection when we build a facility, so it needs everybody's needs. So it really kind of push the project back a little bit if we do that as well.
Your facility in Clearwater.
Yeah. They just remodeled, I think, not too long ago as well. They house some of our inmates. It's right, it's right in a law enforcement center. If you go up 92.
Yeah.
And then a little bit up on the left-hand side, there's a courthouse, the law enforcement and the jail there as well. So,
Okay. I get up the main road.
yeah. The other option would be close the current facility and just house everybody else. Cost of that would be approximately $475 million. But we would have to have a booking center, which essentially would be we'd arrest them, we'd bring them to the booking center, they get booked in for their charges, and then they'd be immediately shipped out of there to another jail somewhere else. But we would still have to have someone to come in so we could process and do what we need to do from that aspect as well. So we operate a booking center. The inmates would be held up to 4 hours and then required to be transported to another facility. So again, I don't know where we'd find beds for 230 some inmates, whatever our projected numbers are. So we would still need to renovate the booking and Sallyport area, minimal construction cost to do that. We would have fewer detention staff required to operate the facility because we'd have less inmates because we'd only hold them for a short period of time, up to 4 hours. Current infrastructure would last longer, but we would still need to spend money to upgrade it. We will need to develop a whole new transportation division because they're going to be busy and we're going to have vehicles going all the time. You start calling us the UPS, will be logistic experts. We also have increased liability for transportation and the cost for housing inmates out of county would drastically increase. We have no control over programming services offered. Inmates would be housed away from their families again in the community. Significant tax dollars would be spent out of jurisdiction.
When I say significant, is there a ballpark on that?
That number, well, it's gonna cost us 500 some million. I'm guessing it would probably be, what I say,
Giving it away.
yeah, it would be probably the majority of the cost would be for.
Okay.
Then if you slide down here, there's kind of a breakdown of overall scenario to kind of put some in perspective for you there. The least costly would be the expansion. The next cheapest one would be closing the facility down. But when we have crime statistics that put us in the top 5 in the state, I think it'd be kind of irresponsible of us not to have a correctional facility in our community. So that's my personal opinion. I shouldn't have said that, but that's what it is. But
That's okay.
the next option is to build new, and as you can see there, the costs are broken down there. It's the overall, it's the third most expensive overall, but if you consider the lost money, it would only need a $374 million hit to the tax line, which would be less than any other projects. The next one would be the status quo at a little over $500 million. The next one would be the 36-hour facility, 504,000. Regional would be 532 with 150,000 of it offset by local sales tax.
150 million.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say, that's a bargain. Let's go for it.
Sign up.
Yeah.
And the last one would be the renovation of the old facility, which would be $535,000. So. And we got all the slide, it's same thing.
If they're gonna, I have a question. If they're gonna, if they threaten to sunset you
Mhm.
before all this is going on,
Mhm.
what do they do with the building?
that the DOC does not care about what goes on in the building. They just want to make sure that it meets the standards so the house. And but what does happen to the old building? That's a good question. It can be repurposed by the county. But the hard thing about jails is the way they're constructed is they're thick walls, there's, rebar and everything. So it'd be tough to remodel and make it useful.
Yeah, I mean, so if they sunset it or whatever, if you build a new building, it's still right next to the courthouse. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to have, I mean, to me, it's only 33 years old. There's prisons out there that are 100 years old.
But they're not smack dab in the middle of a town,
Oh,
they don't have landlocked borders.
yeah, I mean,
Not like in the middle of the city.
yeah,
And these are all the stuff that's got to be explored by our county commissioners when they make that informed decision as well. So, it's one of those things that there's no courthouse. I mean, could you build over on that aspect as well if we built locally on the current campus site? I mean, if you go there, could you go north? I mean, there's so many different options that they'd have to explore. Make the most, the most feasible decision and also probably the most cost effective as well, so. Sorry, I'm going over my half an hour here. I told her I'd never be able to get this done in a half hour, but again, property taxes versus local, and I've been talking fast. Local, property tax versus local option sales tax. Property taxes are levy dollars come from an assessment on every taxable parcel of land within Beltrami County. And we all know that Beltrami County, only 30% of the land is taxed. So it falls on a small amount of people that pay the majority of the taxes. Property taxes can be used to make bond payments, used to finance capital improvements, buildings and roads. It can be used for the expenses related to annual operational costs of the jail. The amount charged annually based upon the county board actions is creating the county budget. Local auction sales tax comes from residents and non-residents alike for making purchases. Funds obtained through loss can be used to fund for bond payments for capital improvements, buildings and roads. It can't be used to pay for staff. It'll be used for the capital improvements of the new building. So you guys probably know that because you researched that and get some real enforcement.
But ours can only beat the regional significance.
And the jail, because it has regional significance.
Good point.
Yeah.
I got this on.
That's
Good point.
So, it can be used, and it's all based off of Minnesota statute 2978.99 sub 1A, which that's what you guys are pretty familiar with. It's estimated that 6% of all sales taxes collected by Beltrami County are paid by local residents. The remaining 48% come from people that live out of the area. The one last slide here is, it's hard to see, which I didn't like. I don't know if you can zoom in.
I think I can blow it up just a little bit more. I'm also
It kind of breaks.
gonna.
I actually put it on the back page and have just that alone.
Yeah.
That's why I did that slide by itself, because
Like,
that can be a good minute.
Sorry.
nice.
It kind of goes over, it breaks down to overall cost and what can be paid for by local sales tax and property tax levy or property tax levy dollars. So it just this chart just kind of breaks it down, and we wanted to put it in there so people could look at it and kind of understand how it goes and how they compare to each other in a visual sense instead of just words. So with that said, I tried to fly through it. Are there any questions if you guys have? I know you got some questions along the way, but
And how many people are you hoping to house with the new build?
239 people,
And that's your projection for the next
30 years.
30 years.
There's just so many variables out there that, I mean, if
Right. But you gotta have some.
you gotta, yeah,
And then compared to the expansion, which doesn't sound like an expansion is even worth the effort at this point.
that's the decision the county commissioners would have to make as a local elected official.
Yourself, Laura.
That is a well, pretty
Just-
responsive.
By what was said here, that's conclusion.
That is your conclusion.
Yeah, that's my conclusion.
Is there a risk that a local option sales tax wouldn't get approved?
If that doesn't, then you start back at ground zero. We figured there's a kind of a baseline and it's a rough guesstimate to be over 22% tax increase for every tax year to do it on.
22.
So if you pay $2,000 in county property tax will go up $440 a year for the next 30 years.
Okay, I have to wrap my head around that number.
I think I don't know, most people pay for county property tax, but it's probably a little, but maybe half of whatever your property tax is, then take that time, 22%. But that's hard because there's more tax that comes on the tax roll. There's so many different variables to do that, but that's just a real ballpark figure. I don't want people to quote me on that. or anything like
No, try to do that every time.
Mhm.
Does the county still do a rough tax for
That can-
replacement of our emergency management systems?
That's for like radio stuff and
Okay.
it's sports, and there's not a whole lot of money in there.
In
either.
that, that's what I
And that's
thought.
for radios and other stuff as well. And I don't know if by statute it can be appropriated for a jail item, so.
Understood.
Wow. There's some staggering numbers here, but any way we're looking at it, we're gonna have some significant costs of the tax here dealing with our
Yeah.
jail population.
What are those, and all the dates, one more time, September 22nd, public input?
Yep, yep.
Interesting work session. What time is the meeting?
And probably
Is
would
it
be,
a special one? That's a Monday.
I believe it is.
It must be. They usually meet on Tuesdays, right?
Yes. I think I'm pretty sure it's 22nd.
And the website one more time. for
Oh,
everybody that's
And
listening.
on there, that slide is in there.
Well, the third slide, I think.
But I was just saying for YouTube.
co.beltrami.mn.us/jail project portal.
And like, I said, what we want is we want public input. We want to hear what people have to say. It's so important because this is going to affect us for many, many years. The input's important. That's what I'm to the commissioners and even the committee will take into consideration when we move forward. So if we do decide to move forward and build a new jail, there's a building committee and stuff like that. If programming is important to the public, it'd be part of the building design as well. So there's a lot of stuff here that either if you go, no go, part of it all for the stick of what we have, or if we do move forward, kind of the direction we want to move that facility and what service it will provide. It's very important to us. So.
Do you know what the county's end timeline is to make that go or no go date again?
There isn't an end one here. We're hoping to have it maybe a month or so after the September 22nd. We want the commissioners to be able to absorb all the data, all the input, and make a good informed decision.
Or the election?
Unfortunately, I think it might fall with the election right around that time. So it's a horrible year too, because they're all out for election and whatnot. So.
So it really doesn't benefit anybody.
Well, it's one of those things that I think it's been hanging around there, kind of the elephant in the room, and now we're trying to deal with it and hope to come up with a good plan for next year. So. Any more questions?
No, sir. It's been very informative. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to talk so fast, but I think I'm going to listen to you for an hour and 25 minutes. So. All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
We appreciate the outreach. Did you get your jump right back?
Oh, God, here. Oh, it's touchy. What other?
Have a good night.
Hey, you too.
Thank you.
Then we're gonna move on to number 6.
Okay.
That's you, Christina.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am reporting on ordinance 2201. As the board knows, we've been working on this annexation of city-owned property. The city attorney has drafted the ordinance and we're doing the annexation by ordinance. In previous detachment requests, it's done by resolution. This is a different process. It's a reverse, but this is the process we're doing that's permitting us by statute because we already own the property. So, what I'll be doing tonight is the first reading of this ordinance, just like we would if we were revising a city ordinance. I have placed the ordinance revision on the city website for anybody that wants to review the documents as well. And then at the next council meeting in October would be the final reading, and then the board can take action on the ordinance and approve or not approve at that time. So read it into the record, and I'm not going to read it in October.
First reading.
All right. Ordinance 2201 is an ordinance of the city of Blackduck, Minnesota, annexing land located in Hines Township, Beltrami County, Minnesota, pursuant to Minnesota statute 414033, subdivision 21, permitting annexation by ordinance. Whereas the city owns a number of parcels of land outside the existing city boundaries that are utilized by the city for its sanitary sewer treatment plant, cemetery, Lakeview Cemetery, golf course, and campground. And whereas the parcels to be annexed are already developed for their intended respective uses. And whereas annexation will not alter jurisdiction over or control of any abutting roads. And whereas such annexation will not cause any tax impact to Hines Township because the parcels are tax exempt, nor will the annexation adversely impact the township's ability to continue operation. And whereas it is in the city's interest to annex these city-owned parcels to the city, therefore the city council of the city of Blackduck will ordain that the city council hereby determines that the property, excuse me, that the property as hereinafter described is owned entirely by the city and is or is about to become urban or suburban in nature, in that it contains city utilities, a city cemetery, and city recreational amenities. 2, none of the property is now included within the city limits of any city or in any area that has already been designated for orderly annexation pursuant to statute 414-03025. The corporate limits of the city of Blackduck, Minnesota are hereby extended to include the following described property, said land being owned in its entirety by the city. See Exhibit A. The above described property consists of a total of 502 acres, more or less. Copies of the corporate boundary map showing the property to be annexed and its relationship to the corporate boundaries and all appropriate plat maps are attached hereinto in Exhibit B. For the population of the area legally described in Exhibit A is 0. 5, the city of Blackduck pursuant to statute 414.036 is not required to make payment to Hines Township for property taxes, given that property to be annexed is entirely tax exempt. 6, pursuant to Minnesota statute 414.036, with respect to any special assessments assigned by the town to the annexed property and any portion of debt incurred by the town prior to the annexation and attributable to the property to be annexed, but for which no special assessments are outstanding for the area legally described in Exhibit A. There are no special assessments or debt incurred by the town on the subject area for which reimbursement is required. 7, the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to file a copy of this ordinance with the Municipal Boundary Adjustment Unit of the Office of Administrative Hearings, the Minnesota Secretary of State, Beltrami County Auditor, and Hines Township Clerk. The ordinance shall be in full force and effect on date. This ordinance is approved by the Office of Administrative Hearings, obviously passed and adopted would not be until October. The legal description in Exhibit A reviews all the parcels the irrigation fields represent, the cemetery, the wastewater ponds, the golf course, and Pine Tree Park. And Exhibit B reviews the property to be annexed and the corporate boundary of the city. Any questions?
None. Well, it's going through.
That would be your first reading. I'll have the final on October 10th.
Okay, number 7. Excuse me, unless there's any other questions on 6, the annexation process. Okay. We have Annette Nyer.
I don't see Annette present. She had verbal communication with Annette, with Paige. Paige actually drafted this request form.
Then
And I don't know how to proceed. She's not present to discuss her option or information.
okay, because from what I see on the agenda request form, to me, they need to be here.
Agreed,
I mean, I can answer to these questions if I had spoken with her personally, but
but she
that-
requested a placement on the agenda.
on the agenda, so this is, if that nobody has any problem with this, we'll move on.
What I'll advise Paige to do is reach out to her tomorrow and ask her if she wants to
Excellent.
come at the next meeting, and we'll give her that opportunity, and
I
I'll
want
move
everyone,
forward after that.
I want everyone to be heard, but you know, this is kind of a vague.
Well, and this was all verbal communication to Paige,
Correct.
so she jotted it down for Annette.
That's great. Like I said, I want everybody to know they're heard.
Right?
All right. Reports of staff. Didn't think you'd be sitting there for an hour before you got to say something. did you?
Yeah, kind of crazy, yeah. I mean, very interesting.
All right, we are to the liquor store report.
I really, don't have much for you guys. We had August was a very good month. We did do a very good job at controlling our payroll hours. To the first backwards batch, I haven't had at least 5 or 6 hours of overtime. So, I mean, that was, these are. It's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to do. It's not an easy thing to. You leave, you come back, you leave, you come back, you get people to cover, but, yeah, so. Working good, the, income statement is coming around.
It is, it was
It-
more
I
than
mean,
twice this on
right.
the net
Yeah,
profit
I
last.
mean, right now, this is kind of where we're. This position right now is something that we usually see in March, April. But. It's. September and October tend to be a little slower. But we do have some weddings coming up, those help out a lot. We have some fall festivals that we're going to be. Bringing bar, catering, sampling out there when it's feasible, trying to, so that should help our September. We can keep the weather. I'm telling you, if it stays decent. That really helps too, because we get a lot of the ATVs and the people coming up on the weekends and,
colors.
yeah, people coming up with fall colors.
I want to know the income statement, that the off sale has finally taken a positive, it's finally moving compared to 21, which is where we needed to be in March
Right.
or even May.
Right.
So that's positive. And note that total operations surpassed $1 million after August, and that typically doesn't happen until after Q3.
Yeah.
So we're on trend for maybe 1.4, maybe 1.3 in total department revenue. Granted, operations
Cost, yeah,
cost, but we're looking at a really good fall, I hope,
yeah,
revenue.
that's what we need hunting season and we need. If we can just prerequisite, we need hunting season, we need good ice. November 15th and no snow until January 15th. Can we, I want that, we put that request.
You got
Mother
that down
Nature.
there?
Mother Nature.
And we're supposed to have a really hard winter.
Well, I don't care as long as there's no snow until January 15th, they can get those ice houses up there.
What we're hearing then is you're satisfied that the numbers are coming around, that these transfers are going to be able to be made.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that we're gonna get $75,000-80,000. I mean, that's just not going to. Not gonna happen.
I'm not confident that what has been budgeted will be transferred.
Right.
I know you guys have cut a lot of hours, but. What else can we do?
We can shut it down,
Well.
then there's no cost to it at all.
That
We
problem,
can, the only other option really, and Shonda's already made some movement on this, Don, is cost of increase.
Yeah.
She's made increase to food costs, because everything else has gone up. And she's taken margin increases on some of the off sale. So we need more revenue to come in, and we need to hold the line and see how the rest of Q3 and part of Q4 come out. Right. We need also in September. But I mean, this is premature because the personnel committee hasn't met, but she's made some really big changes in a very short amount of time.
I mean, there's other factors other than, payroll, yeah.
yeah,
Right, and I mean, we really minimally, and we've asked our people to, do more with less. I mean, really have, we've dug in, and running their tails off. Put it that way. So,
So we'll wait for the personnel committee meeting,
Which is Thursday.
which is Thursday, and you'll have more for the work session then,
yeah,
correct?
I guess my question is what is your question?
If your question was what you just asked, Max, I feel pretty comfortable with what I just told you in regards to the transfers.
Okay.
And to the extent where when the finance committee has met for next year's budget, that I am predicting a reduction in transfer from the liquor store. Because we don't need to put the department in this situation again in 23. So I'll have more information at the work session after the finance committee meets on Thursday too.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a couple more pieces for the 23 budget to come in, but Shonda and I have had side conversations about this. I think that there's going to have to be a serious conversation about what we can realistically transfer solely because of the situation we're in now. And in 23, the liquor store needs to make its first debt payment.
All right,
So that's a little bit of it in a nutshell right now.
But everything is brand new. This is all a new business.
I know.
So, but you would really call them minimal in dollar amounts, really changes for 1 month has significantly impacted this. So if we keep the changes and, keep the lid on new product that comes in. No, we're not taking, blueberry slushy, freezy alcohol things. No, we're not doing that. We are going to just, keep our basics, keep our going. Great news from Anheuser-Busch. They're gonna do a huge price increase on September 17th.
Awesome.
So let me give you an example, Busch Light 24 pack. $2.25 each more. That's a
Almost 30
huge,
bucks.
huge increase, yeah. So,
Are they 25 or 27?
$25.99. So it'll be
Close to $30.
close to weekend earnings. Yeah. Which is their marketing thing, whatever. So the plan is, yes, I'm going to buy some extra, then I don't have to increase right away. And then look into the next level here, like natural ice, natural light. Showcasing that Keystone. Bringing them up front, putting the other ones in the back, and just, trying to be so that we do have some, bargain beer, what we call them. So, and that's straight across, once one goes, the other goes, so.
These are really uncomfortable conversations, and I just want to say on the record that I don't think anybody sitting in this room didn't know 2 years ago when we started entering in these conversations for these major changes we're doing in town, that they were not going to be comfortable conversations. Or without risk.
Right.
Yeah, I mean. It is good, the kitchen is good, these are good changes, they just need time to
Mellow out.
you know what I mean? Having the op sale bigger, it is good changes. We just didn't have the traffic that we normally did. It just didn't happen for weather reasons and then economy reasons, really. So, so we would just listen to a guy talk about 30 years, okay?
I know, it's a long haul project, everything we've done, the
Right.
public works
This
building. the
Has
bar.
long-term change and impact to the.
It has,
community.
it has really long-term benefits. These are going to be things that maybe right now people be like, why? And then 10 years down the road, they're gonna be like, wow, that is really very forward thinking that they did that. That they,
Well, I highly doubt we'll ever hear that.
that, well, all right, maybe when we're dead, okay, they did that,
They're gonna etch it on.
they
your
didn't let the
tombstone.
building fall down. Yeah.
When you hear stuff from outside sources, it's usually all the negative that you can bring to the conversation, what you get bombarded with.
Right, no, and
And I'm not trying to bombard you with negativity in
No.
here. I'm just
you're trying to be realistic and I
That-
understand that,
educate anybody that wouldn't care to watch this on YouTube later.
right,
Just hear us say, this is not a one-time thing. This is a long,
Yes.
this is an investment.
right. Yes, it is,
Okay.
it's an investment in your town.
Mhm.
I mean, if I stop living here, it's still, this is still
Mhm.
an investment in this town, and it is beneficial.
Same way we've handled the golf course and the public works department and our police
And our
department.
campground
And we are trying,
and putting a beach in,
we,
everything is an advantage to the community. We just need to think about it. More beyond this expiration date that we're looking at right now.
I know,
It's tough.
I'm
It
just
is
letting you know that
I
I am
understand.
not putting you in front of a firing squad here.
I understand, and no one, I can tell you, Max, no one's harder on me than me. I mean,
I would agree with that.
it's not just a job, I feel responsible, so.
I think that what Sean has done in a very short amount of time made a huge impact. It was a difficult decision. And she took the risk to do it, and it showed some positivity, and we need to acknowledge that. And hopefully it'll continue.
It'll be
without-
good, we're gonna get so much
without it,
traffic, we
yep.
don't know what to do with.
Yep. As long as the product that we're giving the public isn't different,
You are putting out a superior product.
Superior,
that's the important.
we get lots of compliments on our food,
And with
lots,
the price of gas coming way back down, I mean, that's gonna help.
and that might help. We do have some bear hunters up too, that's helping a
There's lots
little,
of
and-
bears out there,
yeah,
lots of bears.
yeah. duck season will be open. I mean, these are the guys that come in and buy the cases of beer, which kind of what we need too.
Yeah.
Take them back to the cabin and.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And if you got anything in your little magic hat or to help the Vikings win Sundays, that'd be great.
Yeah, I was thinking about offering a new kind of appetizer, just. It's gonna be green and yellow.
Oh.
I'm teasing, I'm teasing. No, totally. Fine. But we are gonna try to have some game day specials, some
Alright,
other kind of things. And you gotta stop in and have our newly invented, it's a chicken biscuit bowl. We taste tested this morning, did it, I ate half of it before I even realized that I ate half of it. It is super good.
Chicken biscuit bowl.
Yeah.
all right.
Guys.
Thank you, Shonda. And anything from the golf course?
She brought her stuff in to me this morning. She is paying, so aside from her income statement, she had a fabulous Labor Day weekend. They hosted the Earl Sargent tournament on Saturday. It was very well received. The tea shed was open Saturday and Sunday. They were super busy both days. The tea shed took in almost $400 in beverage revenue on Saturday during the tournament, and almost $150 to $200, I think she said, on Sunday. So it was a very good weekend for golf. But overall, I think every movement, again, that we've tried to better what we can offer the public in every department has been
Correct.
very positively received.
Can we set a golf board meeting for next month for October?
For October,
October would be easier.
yes.
We're not gonna try to do it now, but we'll. Cause you know, I want the season to close out wonderfully well out at the golf course and have everybody.
I will
But
work on
to
that.
just review and have, you know, a set of. Short-term, long-term stuff.
I will work on that and communicate that with Misty.
I don't wanna. Kelly, welcome.
Yeah. So they had the county commissioner work session today, so I was just, were any of you able to watch it or?
Fill us in.
I guess in my opinion, I think there's 2 for us and 2 against us. I don't know.
Hold on a second. I'm confused because I thought that this was just part of their budget. They're voting on their budget already?
They're going to be voting on the 20th.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't think the letters from the public have done anything other than infuriate them, just because of the way that it was handled and put out there.
I personally am not pleased that there was press releases done with.
I'm not
Blackduck
either.
on there, because this city was not involved in that press release.
And I was told that to put it on the Facebook page, and that it was approved by Kitchi. And yeah, they kind of got chewed out today for the way it was handled.
Yeah, that's not how we've handled.
That's
press
not how the
releases in
channel should
past.
work.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. And
that's beside the point.
yeah,
Done is done.
Done is done, right?
um,
It probably could have handled a little bit differently, but
for sure. I mean, this all comes with a new director. She hasn't been here for a long time, like since January.
sure.
And in the past, I believe, like when Marion was the director, she would come present even to the cities like in August, correct?
She came to one budget meeting when I started, and that was back in like 2016. And I only saw her once.
That must have been the year I was hired. But no, was it the year
I
after?
was way up. It was way before that.
Because
It was
I
like
know
one of
she
my-
was here in August, the year I was hired, because
Yeah.
she came and presented.
Oh, I'm mistaken. You were right. That was the second time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just,
But still,
but usually it's out in August, I believe.
it is because that's when budgets.
And
get
she, it sounds
preliminary
like
sent
she
out.
just been, I haven't even seen my budget yet.
I can give you a copy.
Okay,
I don't know how you are like preliminarily set it when I am, but that's. So what I'm hearing you say is after today's work session, the county commissioners are kind of split. They're just, well, they didn't take a vote on anything.
no,
Yeah, so
No,
they're still
I'm-
in the process of. hearing.
you know, and it's, well, they might not cut it. That percentage, I mean, they might just not give us an increase. I mean, it's hard to say what they're gonna do,
Right.
so.
Well, my conversation with the finance committee is that's kind of, you know, part of the cookie that I can't really finish until their levy is set. And that's why I've advised our board not to set our preliminary until the following Monday, the 26th, because we have till the 30th to send it to the county. So that gives us a little bit of backpedal time. But, so the board's aware, I'm trying to add money into the library budget next year, anticipating the sale of both buildings. So like closing costs and attorney's fees, I'm trying to build into the library's 23 budget. We could put more in there anticipating this, but again, that affects the levy and we have to think about, you know, the taxpayers and how it's gonna affect the overall increase. So again, that's just preliminary discussion.
Basically, I'm just here to try and communicate and see, you know, I just want to make sure you know that I'm paying attention.
I noted that you're hiring,
Trying,
so is this the part-time, this is the part-time position?
yes.
Who filled that before?
Lorraine. Roach, yeah.
Have you had any interest at all?
I have this, since Friday, I've had a few applications, but before that, there's been a lot of phone calls of why I'm hiring. So, well, no,
Bemidji's looking.
no, because of the budget. They think I'm nuts to be hiring. Well, it's not my decision. This all happened, but like we were planning a hiring
Right.
before this happened.
I
Right,
don't
It's just
think,
terrible timing. All of this is terrible timing.
right, well.
I don't think the majority of people understand how the library is funded to be. To start. with.
No.
It's Kitchigami, the county, the city,
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of people involved. So it's not just, one.
The county board, I did listen online, live YouTube, they started their regular meeting at 5 o'clock. And they allowed like a 20-minute comment period, and there was a lot of people speaking on behalf of the library, again, all positive.
Oh, that's good.
So they got some more input, and then they cut it off at 5:18. They didn't want to go 45 minutes like last time we were there.
It's understood that.
But
we can't get the work
sure,
done.
sure, but it was, you know, good people brought forth good points.
The way I took it as, they don't really care anymore. They don't, I mean, they're very upset with the way it was handled and, you know, like Tim Sumner says, he wants to hear from people. But at the same time, he was like, you know, I'm over it. I don't know how to explain it, but it is what it is. I just wanted to make sure you guys kind of are in the loop.
Anybody have any questions for Doug? Programs again after school?
The summer was good.
Yeah, we had really, really good stats this summer. The last couple weeks, I don't know if it's just because of the budget talk or what, but it's been crazy busy compared to usual.
Well, usually when, you stir a hornet's nest, it brings out the hornets. so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna advocate for something, advocate for something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's good for people to have a cause. They just don't realize they need it until they have the potential to lose something.
And it came out of the blue.
Did it?
To us, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lack of communication there.
Then we shall move on. There's nothing else.
Thank you.
Where ad? Lots of those.
Yeah. Okay, so A is removed. So obviously. We're gonna start with, item B, which is resolution 2218. This is, the final resolution draft that I provided at the work session to, start the ball rolling on selling the old library, the existing library. No language in here has changed from the work session. So I need a motion on this one. That's
Okay.
We ask questions before the motion.
you should make a first and a second.
We
and then
should,
have
we
discussion.
should have it out on the table first, so, yep.
Motion to approve 2022-18 resolution authorizing the sale of public property.
Thank you. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Now, you're free to discuss.
So to clarify, the purpose of this is just authorizing the sale of the existing library.
Yes, Ron.
And even though we printed in here the proposal to Deerwood, that's already occurred.
That is correct.
It's already been authorized by the council. So
That is also correct.
This is not a motion. This document does not authorize that. Or
No,
any
that is
more purchase of the building. nothing
Correct.
like that.
Adding the letter of intent just clarifies the authorization for this resolution to sell the existing.
I just want to clarify, because this looks like we're reapproving the.
Sure, I understand that question. Sometimes more language in resolution is better than less. Especially if someone has this as their starting point.
Yes, this way you're saying that we're interested, we've made an offer, we're interested, now we have to also authorize that we would try to sell this.
Right, okay, so the resolution or the proposal reproduced here has already been submitted.
That's
to the
correct.
bank. We revised that, I believe our attorney
Mhm.
is.
That is, yes, that is correct.
Just want to make sure I understand the operative paragraph.
I'm glad that you asked, yes. It's
Also,
okay.
we don't have a purchase price in here, and we just decided to keep that open, is that correct? Should there be a minimum or?
That is another great question.
Because I mean,
So
we have to make that economically sound. What if somebody
So-
says, I'll give you 5,000?
okay, so typically, if an offer on public property is made by a private party, the council has to approve it. Okay, the only authorization this resolution is providing is for me to take the steps to put it out there for public sale. I would take the steps to, in this case, contract with Matt Swarby, because he already did some of the legwork with Miriam. He also provided a ballpark asking price for that as well. So due in part to that legwork, I would make that connection with Mr. Sparby to start that sale. You got to put a number on it somewhere, and I'm gonna take his advisement because that's his profession. And then we'll see where it goes. If we get an offer and it's, what we asked or less, again, the council has only the authorization to approve that.
Mhm.
All I have is the authorization to do the paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, I recall in past discussions, a number of 50,000.
That is correct. That's exactly what I would start with.
And this, Mr. Sparby is a local realtor, is that
He
correct?
is. Yeah.
I've got it, I'm not familiar. with
Yep.
Names as I used to be.
Part owner of Realty Executives in Bemidji, Matt Sparby's family's been here. 3 kids in high school. Yeah, his whole family's been here.
He lives here locally. though.
He lives in, just south of 10 Strike.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, you weren't here, but it was his wife that came and asked for money for prom this spring.
Jesse,
Jesse was here for the after prom party, so they're very, community based.
is there anything else? Any further discussion? Then. Without any further discussion, all in favor?
I,
Aye, opposed? None, passes.
All right. Item C is to approve the preliminary land combination by tax parcel request for the city of Blackduck. This is for the Main Street properties that we held the public hearing on the 22nd. At this point, Max, the council can make any discussion on this prior, after making a motion to approve or not approve. And based on whatever you heard from the public hearing, Daryl was here,
Mhm.
a couple other people that asked some questions, so I reviewed that certificate of survey draft as well. So all we're doing at this point is approving the combination of the PIDs,
It's something that should happen.
correct? At which point we'll convey that after the parcel or the parcel descriptions are combined into one, then we'll work on the conveyance separately to
Those 3 feet.
at 1.87 feet.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We'll have to do a little bit of a revision to the plat map, just because by reducing, if we don't do this first, block 18 will be a non-conforming parcel because it won't be 25 feet anymore.
Oh,
We can't have that,
no,
so we have to do this step first and then convey.
gotcha.
And we have to have the owners of the theater involved in that replat. So that's my next step with the attorney. Anyway. Well, you can kind of see it back behind you and that old fun, but. So anyway, that's kind of my timeline at this point.
Okay. So we'll need a motion to approve the preliminary land combination.
Motion to approve preliminary land combination Main Street Blackduck.
Second.
will second one.
Any discussion about this?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Item D is resolution 2219. This this resolution is drafted to allow the sale of public property in the city limits. And this is the same property that we're just approving the land combination so that I can start the ball rolling on that sale as well for the deed demolition loan program. So I have specific language in this resolution that states that we have to resell it, that it's all 3 parcels. I identified those parcels. Obviously, we want it to be commercial property again so that we can revitalize our downtown. This pretty much just gives me the authorization again on paper to start the ball rolling once the land combination is done.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So if you have all three parcels listed here for this one?
Yes.
Will you have to redo that when it becomes one?
I think once. This is, remember, this is only authorizing the sale, okay? So once the land is combined to one parcel description, Lori, then, this authorization won't need to be redone, but it'll show up in the land sale. When we go through the purchase agreement, then the parcel will, parcel description will change, but typically when you file that with the county, it says formally this parcel number. So I think the language will support that,
Okay,
because we'll still have to do a title search and have, all that insurance on it too.
okay,
He's been bugging me too.
yeah.
Well, I motion to approve resolution 2022-19.
I'll second.
If I may, one more statement, since you made a motion and a second, Max. I also spoke with Mr. Sparby in regards to the lot sales, for some comps on individual lot sales in town that are commercial. And the comps that he could give me is, Bogart's just bought the Magnuson kitty corner from them. I got that name right. And Henderson, when they bought that before she built All About You, one of the Magnuson lots sold for like 5, and the other lot sold for 10. And they're all 25 foot lots.
5,000.
Yes, sir. And they're all commercial lots, so there really isn't a whole lot of comps to go off of. So we taking some advice from Mr. Sparby on that as we move forward.
Where exactly is the Magnuson corner?
So there used to be, and you're gonna have to help me with the history.
This was where there was a motel.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have the
Gas station,
gas station, so right there, standard.
it's on the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could have.
They've been using it for an overflow parking lot for their service
They
departments,
purchased.
and they purchased it from them. Bogart had been using it forever.
Standard gas station, right here with banks. but used to be.
I heard that was a restaurant too.
Yes, well, this is before the building, an old two-story woods.
I heard it. All right, so
Oh, my goodness. We're gonna go back there.
we have a motion and a second. On the table on this, so. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried.
All right, fantastic. All right, the last item I have is, sorry, Max, I am providing to everyone, a success for, 18 months that I got the TD approved. I got notification today from the deputy, and I'm super thrilled and a little overwhelmed all at the same time, because now I know how much work I have to put into this in order to get it to work. So, and before starting the meeting today, I started rereading the chapter, and the statutes, just to familiarize myself, because I have a meeting with him on the phone tomorrow.
So big. Huge.
I think
I
so,
think it's one of the biggest things. It's like, since we started.
just like Brett. That's it. Dang.
You can tell.
I know, that's fine. I'm super excited about this. I really hope that this is a huge benefit to the city. I hope I don't let the community down on this, because I know that there's a lot riding on this. But I'm really thrilled that I kept pushing, because there was a point this spring where I was like, why am I bothering? So, hopefully I don't know if I just wore them down.
Fine, Christina, pick yours.
Well, there's questions about why, and I think those are the questions they needed to figure out. That
So big for us.
goes a lot on their department for having to put something off like this.
It didn't get moved up. Chain of
Back then,
ladder, you know.
Yeah.
I think that ladder lost a few
Yeah.
rungs though, Don. in the last year and a half, and that's too bad. So I'm gonna get on this. I'm gonna try to find out tomorrow in my conversation with the deputy support. If there's anything that is, you know, any cost issuance that I have to factor into my budget to make this work. I was sold a year and a half ago that it's very not minimal, that you've already have your office setting and you've already set up on computer settings. So besides maybe a security box for their cache and what their location, their information they give us, their tabs, which I already have 2 secured sites, or I can use the vault. Page number, I've already started thinking about this for license plates and things that have to be secured. But a lot of it is all electronic, so I don't foresee this being an issue. So we'll see.
When?
I don't know yet. I mean, I got
You
this
just
email
got
at
the letter.
2:08.
Yeah.
My tab expired this month.
Mine
I
do expire this
I
month
was
too.
thinking I could be the
It
first.
won't be this month. I can tell you guys that. It will I'm not expecting to be live until maybe
I'll be
November.
fine.
I mean, realistically, I think this is gonna take 6 weeks to get launched. I'm hoping that's the shortest amount of time. There's gonna be some training that
Training
Paige and I are gonna
involved.
have to go through. Sue Urinak from Cass Lake is a great friend of mine, and she's the one that really I leaned on when I was interested in this, and she offered to come up and help train as well. And then my liaison connection that's helped me with the request is in Park Rapids, she too. And she's already been here looking at the remodel that we've done on the inside and knows that our office has adequate space for everything. So I think I'll have the legs I need to make this a go. But I'll report whatever else information I get from Jason at the work session. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. So.
Yeah.
Of the many things we would think ahead about, is any additional signage plan?
By statute, that it is required that we do signage.
Okay,
I read that tonight. To what extent that's gonna be, I'm not thought that through enough yet, Ron. My hope in the 1 and 2 and 3 year plan of having this demolished is that the exterior of this building has a facelift. Some paint, signage. It desperately needs signage. No one knows where City Hall is. You heard Jarrett Wilson say tonight, or where say tonight he didn't know where City Hall is. And there's just 2 words on the south side of this building and that's it. So we need signage. And that will have to be incorporated into it to some degree, whether it's in a window or whatever. All I
Moved here. I had to go to the library to find it.
Yeah, all I can tell you is that I do understand that advertising is not an option by statute. So word of mouth is gonna have to happen.
Oh, that'll travel.
I know that'll travel fast up here.
So doesn't like Park Rapids, they have a small DMV and they have. DMV and the license plate looks like a license plate. but it's
Yeah,
DMV.
that's how the pause.
Is that like that?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty big.
Catches your eye.
About the size of one of my windows.
I can't remember what Bagley's look like. I thought maybe
Big
that's-
license plate.
License plate.
Kinda gaudy.
I don't know, but I-
Neon flashing light.
Yeah.
I'll include you guys in all the conversations that I have and let you know where I'm at.
All right,
Okay.
onward.
Okay, a number of dates.
What
Coming
we
up.
do for days.
I do apologize. So this Thursday at 10:30 is the next combined maintenance facility construction meeting. Also, I mentioned earlier tonight, personnel committee is meeting at the pond at 2 o'clock. Done, thank you. And then also on Thursday at 3 o'clock, we're having a finance committee meeting. Moving forward to September 14th, is the next development forum meeting here at City Hall at 11. The next day, the 15th, the ambulance board of directors is meeting at 9:30. I had August wrong. Apparently there wasn't a meeting in August next. Go figure. Got a repeat on my calendar. September 19th will be our scheduled work session. I plan to have as much detail of the general fund, for 23 done to present, options by then. I think I'm still waiting on the net tax capacity from the county, to provide to you guys. Side note, if you didn't, get a chance to, attend the webinar that the League of Minnesota Cities did on Thursday morning about levy information, I highly advise that you go to their website and watch it. It was useful.
Yeah, it was.
It was very useful. September 21st at 2 o'clock, is the next planning commission meeting and then on the 22nd would be the next maintenance facility meeting. That's 2 weeks after this coming Thursday. Also on the 22nd, we'll have, one more final finance committee meeting if we need it. And then on September 26th, we'll have our special council meeting to approve our preliminary levy for 23. So that would be the only thing on that agenda unless something comes up otherwise, Max.
Sure.
Okay, so it should be a quick one and done kind of a meeting. And then October 10th is the next regular council meeting. I have some notes there for the general election on some dates. September 23rd, absentee ballots are available. So if you're voting absentee for the November election, you can file on the Secretary of State's website for an absentee ballot at that point to be mailed to you by the county. October 18th is voter pre-registration will close at that time. What that essentially means is if you're not registered in your precinct and you want to get pre-registered, so it's in the roster when you go to vote, that is your deadline. And you can easily register online on the Secretary of State's website as well. So run if you haven't voted in the election. That's your opportunity. Did you vote in the primary?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
You guys were all here.
The first time I've ever had to show ID.
Minnesota,
40 years. I've
Minnesota.
multiple IDs.
Yep. I have a couple election judges that think that's just weird that we don't ask for ID, but that's Minnesota statute. We don't. And then November 1st, it's a Tuesday before the general election, we'll be doing healthcare facility absentee voting. November 5th and November 7th, that's the Saturday and the Monday prior to the election. The county officers, the county auditor's office are open for absentee voting. So what that translates to you guys is if you cannot make it to your precinct on election day, you can still go and vote absentee in person in the auditor's office. Questions? Do you guys understand that? Okay. And then November 8th is the general election, which include our municipal and school board. And November 14th would be our canvassing meeting. I think I went over this prior to the primary as well. What canvassing meeting is we take all of the information from our general election or the municipal election, not the school board. All you're doing is certifying the municipal election at that canvassing meeting. I'll provide to the board all the voters, sorry, not the voters, all the votes, all the votes for whomever got elected and a resolution that authorizes that. At that point, if anybody in the public wants to see if there were any write-ins or what the election results came off of the ballot tape, I will have that accessible for anybody to look at as well. Okay. Any questions about the election coming up?
No, and I think this would be one where you don't, have too much.
Crazy, man.
For the first time, we've got.
Oh, I'm very thankful. I can tell you that I'm still kind of like the DMV. We're one of the only offices up here that's always staffed all the time, Monday through Friday. So we get township people in this community to call us for questions on elections, how city council works, things like that. Today, Paige fielded a question from somebody that was interested in filing as a write-in for a town board. And they wanted to know how, you know, how our meetings work and everything, so she kind of educated her really shortly on that, and yeah, well. Some people just don't know and they don't know who to ask. I mean, we have,
Hey, that's great.
yeah, we
Glad
have
we
town
are.
clerks that call us for questions too, but. Yeah. Help whatever we can. That's it on the election stuff. Anybody else got anything?
School's back in session, do not pass school buses.
Yes, and be very careful on First Street with the construction. That's making it more difficult.
I see Blackduck, I see the school put up signs, no,
No drop off.
No drop offs, yeah,
Okay,
that'll have to say.
I was like, well, they're trying.
I know. Signage is one thing, enforcing it is another.
It is completely another.
Yeah, and that's hard.
Anybody got anything else going on? Something-
I just wanna say that, you know, that.
Correct.
Yeah.
We went and had dinner at the pond. And there was this wonderful gal that waited up. Was your daughter. That was the best service I had gotten in a long time.
Oh,
And we were very pleased, so it's
Sure, she-
what,
did you tell her that?
oh, yes, I did.
Oh, good.
I did it a couple of ways.
Blonde or redhead?
Blonde. So she was just great. So I thought you should know, she's very, very good.
And I'm sure everybody. Got chamber stuff coming up too.
Yeah, Sherry's posting, Sherry that owns a liquor lodge,
Out of it?
Sherry Todovich, she's actually a Blackduck chamber member and not a Bemidji chamber member.
Correct.
And just wanted to point that out. And she's hosting the first chamber after hours tomorrow night, starting at 5.
So we
Drinks
good
and
to
light
go.
applications or light apps and social hour, if anybody wants to attend.
At work.
Yep. I put the next chamber meeting on the schedule and then also chamber night at the golf course. Their scramble is set for September 24th.
Yes. That's some stuff to do for that.
I have some donations for silent auction I need to make. too.
They'll be having one more grill and chill out there. Last Friday.
I believe you're right.
I
Yeah.
hope so. I
Yeah.
would do that.
Yeah,
If Misty, I was there last
okay.
time. It'll be indoors if necessary.
I'm hired.
Minnesota, not the. True Minnesotan, you gotta go inside, if it's too cold, and eat a burger or something.
Oh. Jack Dog, every fine.
We still want to eat cold food.
All right,
Motion to adjourn.
there we go.
The second motion.
There it is. All in favor.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right, thank you, everybody.
And. GL thing in mind.